Recently we saw that New Balance released the ABZORB 2010 model, which I did a review on if you guys didn't see that already on my channel. But now we have a new pair, and this is the ABZORB 2000. So they're taking us back a couple decades and creating some new fun different pairs for us to check out. And I think that it's a really interesting looking pair. So I wanted to do a video for you guys on the 2000s and then kind of compare them to the 2010s, as well as a pair of the 9060s, because they have kind of a similar vibe with the chunkiness of these midsoles. So hopefully you guys find this video somewhat informative, and let's go ahead and jump in. So this is kind of like my first look at these shoes, and they're a little bit different than I expected, to be honest. But I really kind of like the overall appeal of the model, and I'm curious to see how these do overall. This colorway did sell out on New Balance's website. We're going to see more colorways of this model in the future, as well as more colorways of the 2010s. But just in the comment section right now, leave a comment, which model do you think has the most potential colorways and whatnot, just overall mass appeal, the 2010s or the 2000s? Because honestly, I think that this is going to be more of a niche market because it is so different looking. Like, it's really, really chunky. The midsole is definitely crazy, where the 2010s have kind of more of a standard cut and sew leather mesh sort of runner vibe to it. But then you do have a little bit of the ABZORB pods here in the midsole to make it kind of look a little bit different and fun. So I think that the 2010s would be more like widely accepted. However, this is the one that surprised me the most. The 9060 has been just wildly popular, which is so weird to me because the midsole is so chunky. But I've seen like gym girls and stuff wearing these shoes, and it's just really interesting to see like those different types of influencers out there wearing this model. I've seen podcasters and stuff wearing this model. It's just a very interesting one where I'm like surprised that this is the one that has had so much shine. And I'm not mad at it by any means. I'm actually just overall impressed with the fact that it has that, because I know a lot of the other product offerings, and some of the other ones I think just overall are better looking. Like the 1906s, I think are just all around better looking pair. And the 2002 Rs, even though they're a little bit older now, kind of has that Vomero 5 sort of appeal to them. But I think that those are overall a better looking shoe in general as well. So no surprise, I think that this is a better looking shoe, in my opinion, than the 2000s. However, I do think that the 2000s are pretty cool looking, and hopefully they'll have like a lot of really cool colorways to showcase all of the different like personality that this shoe offers. So anyway, to start off, just a general overview of the shoe. You do get the 2000 on a pull tab right here, so you know it is a 2000 model. Has an NB on the tongue in a little bit of a mesh, and then an NB on the heel, and then a large N on the side of the shoe that is in the silver color. As for the upper, you do have a lot of fun detail, but it is done in a really interesting way. So you have mesh underlay, and then you do have two fused overlays on top of that. One that looks like a reflective underlay. The last overlay kind of had this printed textured sort of material, which is why these are very, very different than some of the other pairs that I've seen, because of the extra little lines that go through that create an extra little visible look to the third layer that is fused on over top. So it has these blue and silver dashes all over the place, a big white line across the mudguard, and then even at that, it almost looks like a comic book, the way you have these little pixelated dots all over the mudguard, and then also the same swirling detail on the heels. So it really creates kind of a really fun effect, but a very versatile option when you have like just different design elements on top of the fused upper. Now, interestingly enough, if I compare the uppers to the 2010 and the 2000s, they're very different looking, but they're very similar in the swirling details that you could see. So on this colorway, you could see the swirling like details of the like brown colorway that kind of swirls up and then down and around and then back and around the heel. You do have that same sort of vibe as it swirls down around the heel and then up through the laces and then up around here in the front as well. So it's really fun to see there is a similarity to both of these models, even though they're just drastically different. Now, speaking of drastically different, you get to this midsole. It is very, very different than anything we've seen. You have these huge ABZORB pods throughout the entire midsole. And if you look at the outsole, it shows you where those pods kind of line up because they have their own individual traction pattern. So it's almost like an independent pod setup on the entire midsole, which is very crazy looking. And on feet, these felt really interesting as well because it felt pretty uniform. Like when you have a bunch of different pods gathered together, it just felt like a kind of a natural motion on the bottom of your foot. But you do have a nice amount of squish on the midsole as well. Also, you do have a large stability plate right here, so you do feel fairly stable walking around. It's not like it's overly soft and squishy at every little segmented walk. Like if you consider like the Nike Vapor Maxes, those felt really weird to me, the original ones, because as you're walking in those from heel to toe, that transition is not very smooth. It's like segment, 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 like as you're stepping on the different air bubbles. You don't feel that in this. It feels a lot more fluid in my opinion than something like that. But visually it looks like it would be a lot different. It's kind of a fun pair though that they engineered with this midsole to make it feel stable, fairly fluid, but also just really crazy looking. And I think they did a really nice job on it. It kind of reminds me of the 9060s again, with the ABZORB on the bottom, but this one is done in so much more of a segmented way. And the other thing is when you're trying these on side by side, the 9060s are significantly wider. Like you look at these from the side view and you think that these would be like way wider and just bulkier, but again, side by side, like the 9060s are actually a lot thicker and a lot wider on the midsole than even on the 2000. So it is kind of like bulky, but it's like a sleek bulky, if you will. I don't know how to describe it. It's almost cleat-like the way that these things fit. Let's get into some details what New Balance says about the product. So the ABZORB 2000 retails at $170, and this is a Stillwater and blue colorway. It says the ABZORB 2000 takes a distinctive feature of the notable 2000s running-inspired classics and makes it the focal point of an all-new style. This progressive experimental design features a full-length combination of ABZORB cushioning and ABZORB SBS pods. This thoroughly futuristic outlook is also reflected with a minimalist-influenced upper design. It's a new way of looking at visible tech. They do weigh about 14.4 ounces for those people wondering. And as for fit, I would say that they fit true to size for myself. Maybe I have a little bit of extra toe box room, but I personally prefer that. Anyways, it's a really unique feeling on feet comparison to the 2010s. You do have just more of a standard outsole, midsole. Here, this is a very, very interesting take on a midsole. And the upper, again, being with the fused layers and whatnot, I feel like it's a very fun, different tech version of a runner. And it definitely kind of reminds you of like the early 2000s in a sense, the way that they did all the different patterns and whatnot on the fused layers. The only thing is I don't really love this colorway. I think it looks okay, but I'm really waiting for them to bring just a killer, crazy color combination, because I think that you could have something that makes this minimalist upper like pop a lot more, but also have something that helps you with this midsole so it pops a little bit more as well, because everything kind of blends together in this colorway, which it probably is like wanting to do, but I want something to just to be crazy. Like I want to see the crazy tech on the midsole, like in like lime green or something wild, and then or orange or something like that. Gray and orange is a great combination. Also, I would love to see that done. But other than that, I think that it's a really fun, different pair of sneakers. 170 might be a little bit much for some people when these ones are like 150. I think the 2000s are overall, and I think that the 96s are around 150 as well. So $20 more. It could just be the new modern day, up charges that we have anyway. But I do think that it is a really fun looking model, and I'm absolutely going to be waiting for more colorways to just see what they could do with it, because I really feel like it's a fun one. It'll be interesting if there's going to be any collabs and whatnot. Also, I did want to point out this is a fun, unique situation where New Balance launched their own new model without a collaboration or anything like that. Like we did see the Kith collaboration on the 2010s right after this one ended up dropping, but we didn't see a collaboration with the 2000s yet. So I thought that was pretty rad that they're bringing us something really, really fun and different in its own right. Anyways, if you guys are interested in buying them, they are sold out on New Balance's website, but I will link to the New Balance 2000 as well as the 2010 and the 9060s if you guys are interested in any of those models. If you're watching this from the future, they may have more colorways available and might be worth looking over there over on New Balance. But appreciate y'all for stopping by and watching. Hope you guys have a good rest of the day. Subscribe for more content, and yeah, hopefully see you back. All right, peace guys.